Make sure it's 9 a.m. on your Tuesday morning. I'm Bryn Caswell, and look who's back.
I'm back.
All right, Colin, how was the concert?
It was good. It was good. Obviously, this was his last Columbus concert, so Sunday was Barry Manilow.
If any of you guys went.
And it was a very crowded concert.
How many people?
Oh God, it didn't fill nationwide, but it was 3/4 of nationwide.
And how'd he do?
It was good. It was
He's
good.
like 83,
he's 83.
Right?
He just finished up, cancer treatments and stuff.
Yeah.
But his first performance at Nationwide was 50 years ago. But it was good. I mean, this is a man that wrote just about every song in the 70s, and then a number of jingles and songs for other performers for decades. So it was a really good concert. And then so that was a good one. Went to the State Fair over the weekend as well. That was great. Pro tip for that one. We parked at Columbus State and did the whole bus thing from Columbus State in. So much easier.
Really? Okay.
10 times easier.
Because I parked at the historic Crew Stadium, that area, and I just took the tractors in. And that was pretty easy too.
Right. We, because it was like, the great thing was it was free parking. So it was like, park there, boom, drops you off right at the entrance, picks you up there, boom, in, out, done.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I'm never doing the like parking battle at the State Fair again. So,
I get it. But the State Fair, I mean, all the renovations that have been made. Did you see the carousel?
Yes, saw the carousel. It was beautiful. We did go to the new Ohio Showcase building to watch that film that they made.
Yes,
and
I didn't go in there when I was there.
It was really well put together.
It was the one thing I wanted to go see. We didn't go do it.
It feels so much better this year as somebody who's been here for most of like the years that the State Fairgrounds has been under construction, that now that being done is like, oh, this feels like how it's supposed to feel.
Right. I felt like walking around too, it just, my shoes weren't as dirty as last. You know what I mean? Like they've updated all the walking paths and all of that. It's a lot cleaner.
It's a much more enjoyable experience this year. You still have time left, so go out if you haven't yet.
Yes. Okay. Let's get to our headlines for today. It is National Night Out. This is an annual community building event that strengthens neighborhood camaraderie and police community partnerships, and it's held on the first Tuesday of August. So we're going to be talking to local law enforcement and other organizations about that.
Yeah, and then later this hour, we're talking about the Pickerington Schools levy. So much like every school district around the state that's tried to pass a levy recently, those levies have failed. And Pickerington is really kind of sounding the alarm on that, saying that if this doesn't pass, we're only a couple years away from insolvency, basically meaning in 2 years, we don't have the money to cover our bills.
Right. They need to figure out the funding. So we have them joining us to go in depth about that and what they need come November. Yeah. But first, we're going to start in Upper Arlington. There's been a series of homeowners there have been reporting break-ins. And we actually have some doorbell camera of these instances happening. We know 2 teenagers have been arrested. One of those teenagers, 18-year-old Madison Elkins, she's actually going to be in court around 9:30, so in the next 30 minutes or so. Our Marsha Augustin is there at the courthouse waiting for that. But yeah, as you can see in the doorbell camera videos, I mean, just they were running around from homes to homes, and she stole upwards of nearly $13,000 worth of designer bags, game controllers. I'm not too into video games, so I'm assuming like Xbox stuff.
They're not cheap. I mean, I don't
expensive.
video game either, but I hear, people say what they spend on it. But
So police are still searching for a third suspect, but the break-ins happened over Monday night, and this was in the neighborhood of Tewksbury Road. And so again, they were randomly targeting houses, and they were breaking in trying to steal the items that may have looked expensive, those game consoles, and they were looking specifically for unlocked doors and windows, and they entered several homes.
Right. And I think the most shocking factor about this too is that a lot of these homes had people inside. Like, people were home, which,
with children.
Residents that we had, that Jeff Hogan had talked to, this was like a really highlighting factor of just how brazen these 3 were. It was that, people were home at these homes with children inside, and
it's scary.
It is. And, I don't want to see, it's just,
We have some sound from some of those neighbors. Let's play it.
Whoever did it had to know that the owners, or at least somebody, was there. And so that, to your point, that is a new level of bold.
Certainly seems like a bit more brazen, and certainly a step up from what we're used to for occasionally people stealing some change and cash from cars.
Bold and brazen. So again, this is 18-year-old Madison Elkins. You just saw her mugshot. She's been arrested in connection to this. Another individual was arrested, but again, police are still looking for a third suspect. And we know right now, police are encouraging people in that neighborhood, specifically Tremont Roads and Tewksbury, to lock your doors,
Yeah.
keep your garage doors shut, keep your purses out of your cars. I know that sounds common sense, but sometimes I accidentally leave my keys in my car if I'm carrying like groceries.
Don't tell people that.
I mean, my car. You know what I mean? If
I
you're
do.
carrying a lot into your
Yes.
house, or if you're trying to like take a kid out of a car seat and you're going in and like
No, I
a
get
lot's
it.
happening, and it's easy to forget some of those things sometimes.
And it's like, I mean, and I get it. I now lock my doors, but like growing up in an area where you didn't, I mean, it was a small town. We didn't lock our doors. We do now. It's different. It is
Again,
locked
don't
now.
break into Colin's place.
Yeah, right.
Doors.
Yeah. But no, to your thing about the car keys, since cars have gone to push buttons, I forget things all the time now
Right.
because I just don't have the key. And
Welcome to my life.
Yeah. Oh my
I
God,
know.
it's so hard.
So again, police are asking if anyone in those neighborhoods has any extra doorbell surveillance or ring camera video of the suspects. Please turn it over to them because, again, they are still looking for a third suspect today. But we can't stress it enough. They're bold and they're brazen and
just
they're
lock
really
your doors.
They're looking for things that are easily accessible.
Right.
So be careful, be vigilant, and stay safe. Okay. Moving on to our other story, we're talking about voter IDs. And we now know this is a Republican effort that we've been talking about, Colin, I would say, since the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
But now we know that it's going to be on the ballot in November. So Republicans are trying to solidify enshrine in the state constitution that ID has to be proven in order to vote. Now, we know in the state of Ohio, that's already a law. You
Right.
already have
It's
to do
already
that
there.
to vote. But basically, Republicans want to put this into the state constitution. So let's say if Democrats take control eventually, there's no way to go back and counter that.
Right, without
change it.
throwing it back to a constitutional amendment again.
Right.
Because, yeah, like you mentioned, right now we know that anybody who's voted in this state knows that when you go into the Board of Elections or your polling place, you've got to have that ID with you. And that's anything from your driver's license, a state-issued ID, military ID, also your Department of Veterans Affairs ID. All of that would still be encompassed in this constitutional amendment.
Right. And there's a lot of mixed feelings about this, I would say, amongst people. But I think, as America's great democracy, leaving up to the voters to make that final decision is good. So that come November, you can vote on that.
Yeah, so that'll be one thing that you see on your ballot come November.
Okay, let's see what's coming up next. Well, we have neighbors across Central Ohio. They are coming together for a night of
National Night
purpose.
Out.
It's National Night Out, and we're talking about how this is going to be building a stronger community. back to The Big Picture, 9:10 on your Tuesday. And we have two very special people joining us today for National Night Out. We know this is a huge community effort trying to build community relationships. And it's on every Tuesday of August. It's the first Tuesday of every August. So joining us right now, we have Kim Douglas. You are the Columbus Department of Neighborhoods. You are with them. And then we have Community Liaison Officer Mark Howenstein. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
So National Night Out, simply, why is it so important that we do this every Tuesday of August?
I think one, consistency. The community wants to be able to have this audience with our local law enforcement. They want to be able to build relationships, and the fact that we facilitate is just a given for us, and it's a benefit.
Mm-hmm.
And for Columbus Police and really all law enforcement departments around the country, building that connection between the community that you serve and your officers, obviously that's a really important connection, especially when it comes to the kids. Talk to us a little bit about why that is so important to get out there and interact with these kids in these communities.
So I think a big part of this interaction is to strengthen that police community partnership. And we're also, like I said, we're building that neighborhood camaraderie. And we're also sending a message to those who choose to commit crimes that neighborhoods are organized and they're fighting back. And that's how we do it through the National Night Out.
So National Night Out started out with just encouraging people to turn on their porch lights.
Blue light.
Yes, blue lights. So how has it changed over the years?
Oh my goodness, it's grown. So 1983 was the first year. The Department of Neighborhoods has been sponsoring grants for this opportunity for 9 years now, so since 2017, and it has grown. You will see friendly competitions of cornhole, you will see bouncy houses, you will see face painting, you will see opportunities for our law enforcement to engage. I've even seen them playing basketball with the guys and kickball for the little girls. Like it's an amazing way to kind of fill your heart with community, because we want those in neighborhoods to know each other, but then we also want them to have the relationship with the officers that they come in contact with on a friendly basis, so they know the person that they're answering the door to, right? So that it's not any hesitation when they open their door to a local law enforcement.
Mm-hmm. When you interact with younger kids today, what is their reaction to you, like seeing you in a uniform, and when you come up and talk to them, are they welcoming? Do you think there's still kind of a fear factor in there?
I think that the kids are very open to us when we, especially in these kind of settings. They love the badge stickers. They want to know everything that's on the police uniform. What is that? What is that? So there's a lot of curiosity, and so we encourage the kids to ask questions, and we're definitely open to helping them. Maybe at one point someday becoming police officers themselves. So.
Mm-hmm. Do any of you have a favorite memory from a National Night Out?
For me, it was learning a line dance on the spot, where
So
I think I know them all, and then you get a special turn, and you're facing the wrong way when everybody else has their back to you. But I was still hugged even after that.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. How about you?
So one of my favorite memories, of course, we've been very active with the Wyland Park Civic Association. It always kind of times itself out where they have the football practice and the cheerleading practice. So I remember, I want to say it was 2 years ago, we had the cheerleaders that came over and they did their cheer for us, and it was really exciting to see the kids. And of course, they all like the swag. We have, a bunch of items for them, whistles, and we have lights that light up red and blue. And we don't have T-shirts this year, but we do. Like I said, we have lots of swag for the kids, and they enjoy that. Sunglasses. So.
Kids love that stuff.
Yeah. And when it comes to the officers on the police force, because Columbus Police, you have a huge number of officers. When it goes to coming up to these officers and emphasizing why it's so important out there, what does that conversation look like to get the men and women who serve this community out to these events every year?
So it's so important, like I said, because we are trying to foster that sense of community. And when you have people that are isolated and they don't reach out to one another and know who their neighbors are, it seems like crime tends to take advantage of that. Criminals take advantage of that. So we want people to know their neighbors. We want people to be active and be the eyes and ears for the police department. we rely heavily on that to do our jobs. So.
Is there yeah.
And can I add, as part of our process for receiving grant funding, the organization has to get a letter from their CLO. And so there is that initial point of contact to make them aware that it's happening. And if they didn't have a relationship before, they now have that initial step of knowing who their CLO is. And I find that CPD has been such an upfront and such a ready partner with our organizations that we've had nothing but good feedback.
Is there any data out there that shows that community events like this are actually working?
I mean, I think the fact that this has been going on since
1983. Yeah.
I think that shows that it's working.
Okay. Yep. Anything else you're looking forward to tonight?
I am. I think I'm going to win cornhole.
Okay.
Right.
And you're joining a basketball game?
I'm going to enjoy a basketball game, and actually, there's one of my community groups is hosting an ice cream social and conversation. So I'll be enjoying some ice cream, and I'll also be enjoying the fact that they're going to be passing out they're dusted on LED porch lights, so that we're encouraging our neighbors to light up, the night, so
wonderful.
Be safe.
And I know there's the event that's going on at Westgate. I know there's one in Harrison West. But where can folks go to find where their local event's going?
There are 49 organizations across. Well, there actually are more than 150. The city has funded 49 organizations. They can go to our website for a Columbus Department of Neighborhoods and link at the bottom of our activities page, and they will see not only the address, but they'll also see a contact person in case there's a change in the weather. Although I hear it's beautiful this evening, all evening
long.
It's
going to be absolutely
perfect. Yeah, it's on our side tonight.
Yeah.
Well, thank you two for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
All right, coming up next, we are continuing our discussion of National Night Out, but we've got two community organizations coming in where this is really affecting their neighborhoods. Welcome back to The Big Picture. I'm Colin. She's Brandon. We continue our discussion about National Night Out. We are joined by Keisha Richardson from Ace Community House over in Westgate, along with Lydia Cumming from the Harrison West Society. Thank you both for coming in, talking about this incredibly important night for the city and making sure that these neighborhoods have their continued connection with the men and women who serve them. But when it comes to Ace Community House, talk to us a little about the role that it plays in Westgate and really that broader West Side community.
So Ace Community House has been on the west side of Columbus since 2021. We are a care coordination agency. We address social drivers of health. So basically, we get people connected to resources and give them the tools that they need to improve their overall health.
Okay, and Lydia, you were with the Harrison West Society Incorporated, the Shore North Foundation. Talk to us a little bit about what you do with the community.
So Harrison West Society is a civic association, and so we're there to help build neighborhood pride. We address development issues. We look at safety, parks. So we're just basically trying to make Harrison West a better place to live, work, and play.
Yeah.
And when it comes to bringing in, for example, Columbus Police or Franklin County Sheriff's deputies tonight for this National Night Out, why is it so important for both of your neighborhoods that this interaction happens?
I think this is something the community has asked for. We've seen over the years several communities say we want to improve this relationship between law enforcement and community, and I think this is a wonderful opportunity to do so.
And when you say like improve that relationship, what do you think is the biggest piece that's missing? Is it just as simple as going face to face, like interacting? What do you think is missing right now?
I do. I think oftentimes community meets law enforcement when something's happening, right? There's something that they're responding to. And so there's never truly an opportunity to just get to know that individual as a human being, to have that bonding time and just hang out as two people with a common goal, which is public safety.
Right. And obviously this is just one night. This is one Tuesday in August every year. But what's going on the rest of the year to continue fostering these relationships?
Well, with Harrison West Society, actually, Officer Hohenstein is our community liaison officer, and he attends our monthly meetings. So he'll talk about what's been going on in the neighborhood. He lets us ask all the questions we want, and we kind of continue to build a relationship there.
Okay. And Keisha, what can people expect in the neighborhood tonight?
Tonight, you can expect all types of arts and crafts. Of course, we'll have a live DJ. We'll have some free food for the community. We also have an ice cream truck coming by, and several family and youth serving organizations will be on site.
And I know you mentioned, you've lived in Westgate for a number of years now, but looking back at previous National Night Outs, what has been, kind of a takeaway? What has been, maybe an experience that you've seen with some of the kids coming out and some of the families just being able to have this experience?
I get excited with the young adults who come in and, they're just like, oh, another community event. But then they get in and they're engaging with officers. They have the opportunity to meet with public officials, to ask the questions that, have been burning in their minds. And I just think it creates a great space for engagement.
Mm-hmm. And we were just talking earlier in our earlier segment about how important it is to foster those relationships with law enforcement. Lydia, why do you think it's so important that people are meeting these officers face to face in your neighborhood?
It just brings an element of fun. It's kind of heavy times sometimes, and it's just nice to have a break and just see the fire display, see the police displays, and just have some food and conversation. And we're just going to have a great time, beautiful park and beautiful weather.
Right. And I mean, everybody's goal is to make sure that their neighborhood is a great place to work, live, raise a family outside of this one night a year event. What are some options for people to get involved and make their neighborhood someplace that people want to live?
What I've seen most often are community cleanups. They're popping up all over the city, and I can appreciate them. I know on the west side, there's a group that meets every week for a community cleanup. Start there. The conversations with your neighbors, any opportunity that you have to engage with someone that lives close to you, I think that's a great thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Getting to know your neighbors.
Yeah,
I need
absolutely.
to work on that. I'm going to start tonight.
Yeah, it's always nice to have the neighbors, neighbors to, keep an eye on things, but also just be able to ask for help when they're around, because I adore my neighbors. They're fantastic people.
Yeah. So I know we're talking a lot about kids too and how this is important for them, but this is also important for adults as well. What other resources can they gather from both of the events happening in your neighborhoods today?
So we will have a few public officials coming by who oversee Zone 3, which is where Westgate resides, and they're ready to have those conversations, to answer those tough questions, and I think that many adults will enjoy that opportunity as well.
Yeah, for us, it's just an opportunity. We'll have a couple food trucks, tables, a dining area to set out, so it really is about getting to know your neighbors. And we'll have some information about the Harrison West Society, and I think Public Building and Zoning will be stopping by and answering people's questions about zoning.
Okay, where are both of your events tonight?
Westgate Shelter House.
Okay.
Perry Street Park, Harrison West.
Okay. Thank you two so much. Have fun tonight.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be make sure it's almost 9:30 on your Tuesday, and we are talking now about the 71 US 23 connector.
Right.
We've heard a lot of mixed feelings about this project. We know that this is just an idea. Nothing is for sure yet, and I want to preface all of that with this.
It was kind of a it was a General Assembly mandate to the Ohio Department of Transportation to figure out a possible way to connect this heavily trafficked highway and a heavily trafficked interstate.
Right.
Because if you live anywhere around here, you know that there's no good way to get from 23 to 71 or vice
so it's
versa.
just north of Waldo, and it's creating a road that would go from east to west. But the problem with a lot of this, and we saw this yesterday at the protest that happened in Morrow County, is it's going through farmland.
Yeah.
And people want their land, obviously. And so we had Ohio Department of Transportation Press Secretary Matt Bruning on yesterday to talk more in depth about this project. And the reason why we are talking about this is because there are a series of community meetings that are planned this week. There's one tonight. It's August 4th. In Mount Gilead, there's one from noon to 2, then one from 4 to 6, and that's at the Mount Gilead High School gym, which is 33 Park Avenue, Mount Gilead, Ohio. And there's 2 other ones later this week that we'll get into, but we're going to play our interview from yesterday with Matt because he explained why it's so important that they hear this feedback from people that live in that area.
Walk us through, I guess, first, where ODOT stands in this project, because this is something that you guys obviously created the plans for, but you were asked to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to remember that the General Assembly in the last transportation budget asked us to, I guess more than asked, and it was put into codified law, that we had to come up with a report that would highlight the most feasible routes to connect US 23 and I-71. And they laid out 5 very specific locations we had to check. And then they also asked us to work with the Turnpike Infrastructure Commission to evaluate tolling a new road. I will point out, there is nothing in that law that says no build is an option. So we have to put a line on a map and put that into a report and hand that to the General Assembly by October. So that's what we're doing.
Right. And so what other routes were explored?
So they wanted us to look at everything basically from 36, 37 up to 95. And very quickly they dismissed the northern routes because you would have to go a lot further out of your way, probably wouldn't have as much traffic, because people would tend to not do that. The southern route had a lot more of environmental impacts. And so you're trying to balance, environmental and community impacts with what the legislature is asking us to do to find this most feasible route. There is no scenario, I want to be very clear, there's no scenario that has 0 impacts. It's just not possible to do what is being asked of us with no impacts to anybody. But what you're trying to do is find the fewest impacts. And so that, again, report will have to be turned over to the legislature by October 1st. So this latest round of information sharing with those who live in those 3 counties, it's very important. We want to get feedback from those folks on the plan. And then that'll all be part of the final report that gets handed over to the legislature.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, these 3 meetings that are happening this week, again, Morrow, Marion, and Delaware County, this is kind of one of the last opportunities that folks in those counties will get to, hey, I like this, I don't like this, here's what I'd like to see change. So if they have something to say, really this week is the time.
Please come and do it now. Yeah, I mean, the public comment period will technically end. We'll take comments through September 1st, but we have to obviously be able to compile all of those into this report. So that gives us a month to compile everything and get it into the final report that goes to the legislature. So yes, absolutely. Please come over, share your thoughts. We know there's a lot of opposition in central Ohio to this study. We know there's a lot of support in northwest Ohio to this study. So it's kind of, depending on where you live, it kind of dictates how you feel about it. But I want to be very clear too, just to set expectations. At this point, this is a feasibility study. There is no plan right now to build a highway. And when what happens with this once the plan is handed over to the General Assembly, who knows? I mean, that's for the future to decide. Then the next question will obviously be, do we build it or do we not? And that will be answered by a future General Assembly, future governor, future directors of ODOT will be involved in those decisions whenever they happen.
What has some of the opposition been that you've been hearing?
Well, I mean, a lot of it is obviously people who are concerned. I mean, they've moved one to a rural area for a reason. They don't want to live near a highway. A lot of these people that, because I was at all of the meetings the last time back in March, a lot of these people are multi-generation farms where they've been, they're the 5th, 6th generation farming this land. They don't want a highway put through their property. But then you talk to people in Northwest Ohio, and then they're obviously concerned about economic opportunity that's happening in Central Ohio with things like Intel and Anduril. They want to make sure they can be a part of that. They just opened the Gordie Howe International Bridge up in Detroit, and there's a lot of traffic coming down I-75. How do we connect that into Central Ohio? So there are a lot of competing interests. Obviously, you have to weigh all of that into consideration, and I'm sure someone will in the future. But right now, this effort is focused solely on putting this line on a map for the General Assembly to say this is the most feasible route. If you make the decision to build this, this is where it would be the most feasible. And obviously, if this were to go into being a project, there would be a process at that point to do this as well.
More of a clear timeline.
Right.
Yeah.
So at all these meetings this week, do people have to sign up to speak, or is it
Nope.
what do those meetings kind
It's
of
an
look like?
open house style, and we wanted to do that to allow people to come and go as they have time. We realize people have busy lives. They don't have time to sit through maybe a 2-hour presentation, or you don't get there on time. Now you've missed out. We want people to be able to pop in, pop out. They can stay the entire time. They could stay for both meetings that day. They could come to all 6 meetings. However they want to do it, but it's a little more of a come and go as you please style when you do the open house. So there'll be a lot of folks there that they can ask questions to, a lot of exhibits, and we expect that we'll get a lot of questions, but we also want a lot of feedback as well.
Yeah, so feedback. That is the biggest thing that Brittany was touching on yesterday was they want to hear from the residents. So we do know Monday night that there was a organized opposition protest situation, basically against the ODOT's proposition of this US 23 connector. And there were a bunch of people in this meeting. Our Libby Cathy went there, and they want the state to hear where they're coming from. They want to feel heard. Like I was telling you while that was playing, my great grandparents lost their farm up near Toledo 275, and it impacts families.
Right.
It can.
Right. I mean, Illinois shot Route 14 right through basically my parents' living room. So they moved.
Yeah.
So it comes down to, because if this is approved and basically done, we come down to eminent domain issues.
Right.
And,
And
it can get messy. It gets messy, and it can become, very heated in these communities. So take a listen to what Libby Cathy was talking about.
Just because we're rural, we are not sitting here waiting to be carved up.
Residents packing the room, picking up yard signs, signing petitions, and making it clear where they stand.
I think it's terrible. I mean, it's going through a farm.
The proposed connector would link US 23 to I-71, a project state lawmakers asked ODOT to study as a way to reduce congestion. But many here say they believe the cost to their communities would be too high, like farmer Dick McGinnis.
There's not enough money to cover the disruption it's going to cause in our life.
Or real estate broker Carol Lessick.
People live here and they want to live here because of the rural community.
Many here, like Lessick, saying they're not upset with ODOT, but with lawmakers.
They should be ashamed of themselves for trying to put this through.
Jennifer Williams helped organize Monday's meeting. She says their goal is to encourage residents to submit feedback before ODOT sends its report to the state.
I believe actually our voices do matter, and they matter a lot. If anything, just because the option to do nothing is not really an option in my mind, but I give us pretty darn good chances.
Others advocate it would bring economic development. That's the argument. What's it?
Sure. I mean, I think that it would bring economic development possibly for other parts of Ohio, like Northwest Ohio, right? But our area would be literally bypassed. I'm sure nobody in Morrow County is against economic development and job opportunities for the state of Ohio. We're all proud Ohioans. That's great. Not at our expense.
So ODOT has until September 1st to submit their their findings from the comment feedback, from the public feedback they get. So again, there are 3 meetings happening this week. The first one is today at Mount Gilead from 12 to 2, and then from 4 to 6 p.m. Wednesday, there's one at the Cornerstone Alliance Church, and then Thursday at the Delaware County Fairgrounds Ag Building.
And all of those times are the same for all 3 of these.
Right. So if you are passionate about this, if you have thoughts, feelings, concerns, anything, ODOT really, really, really wants to hear from you.
Yeah.
So
And
figure out
it's,
a time to come
and
in.
it's like open forum. You don't have to register. You just show up, come and go in that time frame as you please. You also don't have to live in those 3 counties to picture.
No, and Matt Bruning did say that there's an opportunity online as well to submit questions that way. So if you can't make it physically in person to one of those meetings, there is a way to submit your questions or your comments or concerns online. So we're going to keep following this story, and we'll see what happens. Definitely, this isn't going to be something that's built overnight. I mean, this would be years in the making.
Right.
So anyway, okay. Well, coming up next, we are joined by the superintendent for Pickerington Schools. We're talking about a possible levy on the ballot. Mm-hmm.
All right, welcome back to The Big Picture. I'm Colin. She's Bryn. Right now, we are joined by Dr. Charles Smilek, the Pickerington superintendent. So Pickerington, much like every district around Central Ohio, has really been trying to figure out the future of school funding. And like a lot of districts, that is uncertain, especially coming into the future. There's a special meeting regarding a proposed levy that voters would go on to. Why, in the eyes of the district, is this levy really needed?
So we actually voted last night. We had a 5-0 vote, which was great. It means our entire board is behind the ask for a 0.75 additional income tax. We did put a 10-year term on that. We did a lot of listening sessions this summer. We were on the ballot in May and suffered a pretty stark defeat. It was about 63 to 37. So try to invest a lot of our time this summer in listening to our community. We heard that it was too much of an ask, so we reduced it by 40%. We heard that it was a forever tax, so we put a 10-year term on it. We also heard that people wanted to see us make cuts, so we actually cut $3.25 million this summer, including 5 district office positions, a couple of school administrators, and then a slew of other opportunities or services for students. So we don't obviously like to ever deprive students of opportunities or decrease what we offer, but we heard that from our community, and I think our board responded last night with a emphatic endorsement of our efforts and the fact that we indeed need new revenue. We have not actually passed new money since 2011, which is a long time for a district to go without passing some type of increase in operating revenue. We've run a deficit since 2022, and we will actually run out of cash by 2029. So the need is real, and we are hopeful our community will support us.
So when you came to Pickerington from Northeast Ohio about 2 years ago, did you know that you were going to be faced with all these budget shortfalls and these financial challenges with the district, kind of navigating that? Did you know that was going to be on your plate as superintendent?
In all honesty, I thought we had a little bit longer. The previous 5-year forecast had assumed that the Fair School Funding Act would be implemented completely. That was obviously changed in the last budget cycle. So that put us at a quicker pace of actually asking the community for more money. In all honesty, I don't think any public school superintendent at this point thinks that they are immune to eventually having to ask the voters for money. So I knew that eventually we would get to that point, but it has been exacerbated by the fact that Fair School Funding Act was not fully funded in the last budget cycle.
And I mean, a number of districts have had levies fail. I mean, Grandview Heights had one fail. Marysville local had one fail. Jonathan, like all of these districts have, within really the past couple of years, have faced an increasingly steep uphill battle to get money passed. Obviously, the one that you guys put forward failed. How do we get money into the district if these continue not fail? If these continue to fail, what does the future look like, really?
I would love to, say there's some type of optimism that, the state is going to step up to a higher degree. However, I think that would be naive of me. I really believe that it is going to be incumbent upon local communities to figure out what types of schools do they want, what types of opportunities do they want to have for their students and their children, and are they willing to support that? We've seen a decrease in state funding. State just 20 years ago was supporting public education at a 48% rate. It's down to 37% now. It's going to continue to decrease as we implement these different reforms that we've seen. So it does ultimately get passed down to the local taxpayer. I'd love to say that the pendulum will swing back, but again, I think that would be a naive proposition.
Mm-hmm. So let's say it does pass in November. What are the first priorities for tackling when you get this money?
To be honest with you, this was a relatively conservative ask given our growth. What I didn't reference earlier is that, since that last operating passage in 2011, we've actually grown by 17% population-wise. We predict another 1,000 students over the next 3 to 4 years due to the development in the community. So honestly, there aren't bells and whistles here. I mean, this is about putting our staff in front of our students. We have stripped all of the administrative or support positions out of the actual staffing plan. So what we are putting forward represents our need to keep reasonable class sizes, to keep the opportunities that we have.
And worst case scenario, the district goes insolvent, can't pay its bills in 2 years. What does that look like?
If you really get to that point, then the state comes in and takes over. There's a few sort of stopgap measures in between. You go from fiscal watch to fiscal caution to fiscal emergency to state takeover. So obviously, we always want to have local control, and we would implement the steps necessary to do that. The steps necessary to do that, if we really got to that point, get pretty ugly. You're talking about reduced days for students. You're talking about elementary class sizes at 30 or 32. Really, difficult propositions for our families and our communities.
Yeah, and so you had all those listening sessions over the summer, so you've listened to what people want with, you were given the example of they didn't want a forever tax, they just wanted it to be 10 years. When talking and getting their feedback with them, what is your final message for these residents in the Pickerington School District, the neighbors that maybe don't have kids or something? Why should they reinvest and want to see these tax dollars going back to the school district?
In the end, communities are known by the schools they keep, and we have an extremely strong school district that is a destination district. People come here for the schools. We want to continue to be that. We don't want to revert to state minimums. We can if we have to, if we can't get funding, but that hurts property value, that hurts civic pride, that hurts folks moving in. You want to be an attractive, up-and-coming school district, and we are still that. This is an exciting district to be a part of, and we want to continue that momentum.
And obviously this levy that you're proposing, that voters will take a look at this fall, it's at a reduced level of what you put forward. So with less money coming in, is this a Band-Aid to a larger problem? Will we have to go back to the voters again?
We have had that honest conversation with the community. In fact, I like to try to remember specific quotes. And one one sort of sentiment that came out of some of those listening sessions is tell us what you need for 5 years. And that's essentially what we've done. This gets us to 2030, 2031 potentially. And so, people understand going in that this is not a forever solution. We will have to continue to advocate locally. We certainly advocate from a statewide perspective, but again, being realistic, it's a local community issue.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming in and talking about this.
We really appreciate the forum. Thank you for the opportunity today.
All right. Take care. All right. We'll be back in just a moment. This next story will make your ears perk up. We're talking about toenails and
and
baby teeth. It was definitely a head turner for me
"What?"
this morning when I first I was like, what?
Right.
Yeah,
So
OSU
it sounds
wants-
very creepy, but
Yeah.
OSU needs these things, and it's because of a study that they're doing about oil field brine.
Right. And so kind of the background of this is, so one, oil field brine was used on roads up until really recently. Ohio banned this, Department of Transportation banned this in 2020. And now we're kind of looking at what exactly are the possible health effects of this. So some long-term exposure concerns about this are, different kinds of cancer, bone and liver cancer, breast cancer. And well, this oil field brine contains sometimes radioactive material, including radium, which is the creating factor of radon gas, which if you own a house with a basement in Ohio or most of the Midwest, radon is a continuing issue.
Right. And it was used in parts of Ohio to melt ice and also control dust on the roads. So this study is primarily focused on Licking County and also parts of Coshocton and Ashtabula County. So they want naturally shedded baby teeth specifically.
Okay. Yeah, don't pull out your kids' teeth.
Don't be yanking out your kids' teeth for this if you live in those counties. So who can participate? Adults who have lived in Licking County for at least 1 year, they can donate their toenail clippings.
Yeah.
Put those in a bag and send them in,
send them
I
off
guess.
to OSU.
Yeah, then parents can donate their children's naturally. I can't believe I'm saying
They'll pay
this.
you for it too.
Naturally
You can
shedded
get like
baby
$90.
teeth. Yeah, and you can receive gift cards to be a part of this study. I mean, it's all going towards science. So the goal is to study the health effects of the oil brine spread that's been on the roads.
Yeah.
Who knew that?
Well,
I didn't know that was on the roads until I read this.
Right, and the researcher we talked to was basically said that because of the substance that makes up your nails and your teeth, it's a great biomarker because it holds on to the stuff that's in your body, especially these substances that are in this oil field brine. So it's a good way to determine, like, okay, how long is this staying in the body? And to what degree is it staying in, especially children who may have been born after we stopped using this a number of years ago.
OSU should be giving like tooth fairy cards
Right.
out to the little kids that give their
Yeah, and I think it's fascinating because it's like it does highlight also all of these great interesting research projects that OSU does.
Right.
Because I know they've done different recently I see the
So
flyers
much.
all over about like smoking cessation studies of like, are you a casual smoker? We'll give you $500 to take part in this.
I've actually been into the building where they do all of that, all that studying and testing when it comes to smoking, and it smells like smoke.
It probably right.
It's like nothing you can do about
Nicotine
it. But
cleaning
again,
to everything.
yeah, this is about trying to find the answer to bone cancer, liver cancer, breast cancer, maybe, and just other side effects.
Yeah.
So it's very, very interesting.
So think
So,
about it.
Yeah, I don't have written down, unfortunately. Well, actually, no, I don't have written down how you can actually send in your
Right.
toenail clippings. Do we know that in your teeth?
No,
I don't know that. We'll stand by on
yeah.
that. Stand by on that
We'll
one.
keep talking. I'll come back to
I'm
that. I'm going to sit here and
assuming,
Google.
like, a bag. I don't know.
Yeah. Toenail clipping. This is a
Oh
weird
my
thing to
gosh.
Google.
I know. You're going to be on a list somewhere
Oh,
now.
probably. IT is going to be like, okay, weird.
What's he Googling?
We do have this as a story on our website.
Yeah,
so,
we do.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. You can just go find the story on our website, 10tv.com. The title of this is Toenail Clippings Baby Teeth Requested for Ohio State Study about
Yeah.
Oil Field Brine. There is a link in that where you can go to find out more on how to sign up.
Okay, so let's switch to something a little more appetizing before we go today. We're talking about pumpkin spice season.
Which is so early.
It's launching. When is
Crazy.
it? August 25th. So in about a couple weeks, you can get all the new item menus at Starbucks that surround pumpkin flavor.
It's too early.
It's I pull out
it's
my Halloween
probably
decorations
right.
in September.
I mean, September feels okay.
Yeah.
August feels early.
August does feel early.
August feels early.
And I have to admit, I'm not the biggest pumpkin spice person.
I
don't live for that. Some people live for it. I don't.
Right, Aaron White does.
He
I
loves
would absolutely be okay with just blowing right by pumpkin spice season and getting to peppermint mocha season.
Peppermint mocha, yes, that sounds good.
Yeah.
So, what were you saying?
Oh, I was going to say, but there's a whole bunch of fall things that they're rolling out along
Yeah.
with the pumpkin spice latte. Yeah. So the one that is interesting, they're mixing like a cider and a chai tea together. They're calling it chider.
Chider.
I don't know if it's because like already chai
Chowder.
is like a spiced thing. So I'm like, are we using the cider spices in there as well? Which chai's already kind of cinnamony, so we're just gonna have a lot
It's a
of
flavor
of warm spices in there, which is great.
And there's also this one. I love matcha, but this one sounds scary to me. The iced pumpkin cream matcha.
Ooh,
I don't know.
I mean,
Tea, like green tea
yeah,
and pumpkin. I don't know if that.
yeah. I don't. You
I
know,
need to talk to a.
they
expert.
got to keep up with new things,
They
but
do.
also
They got to keep up with the trend.
yeah. But hey, there's more
Okay.
food.
Yes, more food. Wait, where is the food? Okay, chicken bacon protein pocket. Okay, that sounds good.
Why do we put protein in everything?
I know. Don't even get me started. I cannot with the protein thing.
I know. I
The
saw
one-
protein Cheerios
That's so
at the
crazy.
grocery store the
no,
other day.
you don't like.
Right. Just get your fiber.
I know.
I mean, also, yes,
I've seen
protein's
protein
important.
popcorn.
Yeah, protein
Like
water.
what?
Yeah, no, it is definitely the latest health food craze because also, especially good point of order for the protein Cheerios is that if you look at a regular box of Cheerios and the protein Cheerios, it might be 1 extra gram.
Yeah, it's like
It's not worth it.
They just know it's a selling
It
point.
is a
People be like,
marketing
"Ooh,
label at this
protein."
point. So if you are trying to get your protein goals, compare your nutrition labels.
Yeah, absolutely. But I have some fun facts about
Yes.
just like pumpkin spice as a flavor. So we started seeing it introduced in the 1990s, especially within coffee and other food
Yeah.
items. And then guess what year did Starbucks introduce pumpkin spice latte? Jesus.
Okay. I know it's been longer than 10 years ago. I'm going to say 2011.
2003. Yeah.
No.
I know.
No.
It's been around that long.
Wow.
I know.
Huh. But I feel like the craze isn't that old. Maybe it is.
I feel like the craze has been going on forever. People love it. The fact that
do.
like Target already has like the creamer out
Yeah.
and stuff, it's just wild to me.
Right. Yeah. The more you know.
The more you know.
So,
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, expect that in a couple weeks if you're ready for fall and Halloween. I know I'm ready for fall and Halloween. I'm over
You're a
the
big
summer.
Halloween fall person, and I am too. Like though this summer, I got to say, it's been nice. It hasn't been terrible.
This summer's been good.
Right,
I'm over it now. Now that it's August, I'm like,
I'm ready for camp. I'm ready for bonfire season.
Mm-hmm. And those really good smelling candles. And
Burn them all year round.
And I guess a little bit of pumpkin spice.
Yeah,
Doesn't
just
hurt
a little
anyone.
bit. Gotta have one.
Just like a little
Just one.
bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that does it for us today on this Tuesday. We'll be back tomorrow at 9 a.m.
See ya.
Bye.